Good morning. Happy coffee talk. It's almost Christmas. We just did the evaluate all your gifts thing and make sure that you have enough for all the people and checking to see if it's lopsided. Um, that's what we just did this morning. And now that I'm sitting at my desk, I'm like, oh, I do need to do a couple of more little tiny gift grabs. And so that's on my agenda for today. And it is Wednesday, by the way, Christmas Saturday. But I personally prefer to shop during Christmas week. It is the week that feels like Christmas to me. I don't know about you. You're probably somebody who shops like back at the beginning of November, and I am jealous of you. I am truly, truly jealous. So let me get right into our coffee talk message for today. So if you're new, these are short 5 to 10 minute, things for you to consider, perspective shifts on your day. And I also share my coffee and what I'm drinking because I am drinking coffee right now. But let me jump right into my thought process, which is why on earth is it so hard to change what we do every day? Why is it so challenging to even change the smallest thing in our routine? I don't know if you feel like this too. I sometimes marvel at how difficult it is. Because if you think about it, if we were just able to say, you know what, now in the mornings, I'm going to do this, this, and this. And that's what I want to do. And then just wake up the next day and do it and continuously do it. I think that is incredibly rare. And most of the time, we already have something that we do in the morning, a routine, this, and this. And if we even try to change one piece of it, it's hard. It's hard to change it. Maybe you have a breakfast routine and you go into your kitchen and this is what you do most days, this, and this. And if you try to change it, it's hard. And you like that you get up and you go where you go, or you like that you get up and you go to your desk, or whatever it is, you have a routine. And when we try to change it, it's hard. It's crazy. Because you'd think that with our brains as smart as they are, as capable, we could simply just decide to do something different. And sometimes we can. I'm not saying you can't. I'm just pointing out the obvious, that it is hard to change things that are settled in as routine. Because I guess we prefer it. Something must be deep down in our brains that prefers things to be predictable and what we know. And so because what we know and what is predictable feels safe, our brains default to wanting to do it. So we want to do what feels safe, what feels knowable, what feels predictable. And any change to that feels not great. I really think that's what it is. I think it's more of a safety thing, something that something that our brains adapted to over time to keep us safe. But what happens when our routines, the things that we're doing every day, aren't ideal? What if you roll out of bed every morning, the first thing you do is, hop on social media. Then the next thing you do is, blast through your morning without even a sip of water, and out the door you go, no breakfast, and that's your routine. It's not that that's the end of the world, but maybe that's not ideal. So you want to change it, but it's hard to change it. So then how do you change it? Isn't there an entire industry, both fitness, both habit oriented, both professional development, personal development, that has built an entire industry on helping you do exactly what I'm talking about. Change the most easy, potentially simple things that you should be able to do, but for some reason our brains don't want to do. And we just default to our robo setting of what is familiar and what we know. It's kind of crazy when you think about it. It's super crazy, but it's true. I mean, there's no judgment here. It's the same for me. Sometimes I'm like, I want to do something different in the mornings. I think about it a lot in the morning because that's the time before the day has gotten away. And I'm like, why is it so hard to do? Well, because I've already got a default setting. So if you want to replace a default setting, and you're not going to completely change your location, because here's the other thing. We are very good at creating a new routine in a new location. So if I was just to pick you up, give you a new job, a different house, a different city, you would build a new routine really quickly. Almost immediately. You would do something the first day. It would feel awkward and weird and scary. And then you would be like, well, that's the way I went yesterday, so I'm going that way. That's how I found my office. So I'm going to go that way. That's the coffee shop I found, so I'm going through there. I know that one's good. I had to leave my house at 7. That seemed to work. I'm going to do that again. We create a routine instantly in a new setting. You know that this is true. That it becomes something that you're like, okay, well, I laid the path and now I'm going to just repeat that. Because our brains love it so much. So the challenge is, if you're not going to create a new setting, you're not going to have a new house, new job, new city, new people, well, then you need to be able to adjust your routine in your life now, in your actual right now life. And how do you do that? Well, I think, again, there's an entire industry that's created based off of how to help you do that. But one of the things that I personally do, one of the things that makes the biggest difference for me, is taking one small piece and swapping that piece. So maybe what it means is, instead of going straight to my phone in the morning, I instead have my phone put in the bathroom so that I don't wake up to it. That was a suggestion by one of our fitme coaches, Coach Amy Heap. She suggested that, and I think it's a fantastic one. But that is one thing that's different. That's one little piece that you swapped out. You used to just grab your phone. Now you can't because it's in the bathroom. New routine is your brain not expecting to see that phone there. Now you've incrementally 1% improved your routine. You can do this over and over again. Maybe you always go straight for coffee, and instead now you're going to have a glass of water before your coffee. It's very small. This is just one thing that you could change about your routine. But if you stick that cup right next to your coffee pot, your glass that you're going to fill with water, then you probably will do it. You'll do it. That's going to be the cue that reminds you to do it. So there's a cue that helps you do it. Also, sometimes it can be helpful to, just like I talked about with the phone, removing the cues for habits that you don't want. So for example, if you always drive to work one way, and you go through Dunkin' Donuts drive-through, like I used to do, and get a Boston cream donut and some sort of vanilla, coffee situation, if you drive a different way, you're removing the cue. Or if you already take something in your car, maybe you pack yourself a coffee and you already had breakfast. Now the Dunkin' Donuts, store on the corner isn't quite hitting you the same. So you're removing cues from habits you don't want. I don't know that there is some magic brain trick for this, but the key to any of these strategies is that you actually want to change that routine. If you don't really want to change it, it doesn't matter what tip or strategy I give you. So this coffee talk message this morning is, one, to validate the fact that if you find it's hard to change your habits, you're not alone. That is for real. Changing your habits is hard. Second, our brains default to that setting because it keeps us safe. Okay, so your routine's what's familiar. It's our brain's way of saying, yep, this is the safe way, do this. But because we have brains, we can look at our routine default settings and say, this isn't actually what I want. This isn't helping me. I don't like this routine. This routine is maybe making my mental health not so good. This routine is maybe making my stress levels not so good. This is making my physical body not so happy. I want to change my routine. So you can look at it with your brain and your outside of your body kind of perspective and say, yep, I don't like that routine. I want to change it. Now, in the absence of moving to a new place and again, changing and everything about it, you are stuck. You have to change your routine in the life you currently live. How do you do it? There are a bunch of different strategies to do it, but the number one underlying factor that you're going to need is that you have to want to do it. If you don't want to, you will easily default back into your old routine. It's just how our brains work. Again, zero judgment there. It is just how it works. So number one, want to do it. Second, try to change one thing at a time. Do a swap. Like a boundary, something that you're like, instead of doing this, I'm going to do this one thing differently. So your brain gets to stay in safe mode, except this one thing is different. Try that. Another thing you can do is use cues. Put things into your routine. You know that you have this routine. Put things inserted in there that prompt you to do something that you want to do differently. And again, don't change everything. You're not going to do it. So you're going to need to want to change one thing, like having that glass of water before your coffee. Last is remove some of the cues. Remove some of the cues that prompt you to do things that you don't like. If you have sweet treats out on your counter and every morning that's a part of your routine to grab a sweet treat with your coffee, take those sweet treats off your counter so that your brain doesn't have to think of that, and put something else on your counter that you do want to have. Maybe it's an apple, maybe it's a banana, maybe it's hard-boiled eggs, something like that where you're like, okay, there's the thing that I want my brain to actually want, and it's cueing me because I see it on my counter. There's about 50 million other ways to change your habits, but these are the ones that I rely on most that work well for me. And then you need to do whatever this change is for weeks and weeks and weeks and weeks before you can rely on the fact that your brain will like it as a part of your new routine. So it has to be deliberate and almost like manual mode for a while. And then your brain will accept it as your new routine. And oftentimes once you've created a new routine that your brain is comfortable with, you're like, yes, I eat vegetables with breakfast and I drink water and I go for a walk in the morning. You've built that routine. It's hard work. Nobody tells you this, but it's hard work to build that routine. And once you've done it, you have to protect it because it can go away. And so what I mean by protecting it is, say you go and you stay with family and you've worked really hard on that morning routine. Well, guess what? You got to keep it. You got to do some version of it while you're there. It may not look perfect. It's not going to be exactly the same, but you want to protect that routine. Maybe you've worked super hard at creating a routine around going to the gym after work, and it took forever, but you did it. You used to do something else. Now, every single day after work, you go by the gym, you've got your clothes packed, you do that workout, you know that it's good for you. And then you break your ankle. Now what? Well, you better protect that routine because there's something worse than a broken ankle, and that is losing that routine that you worked so hard to build. So you go anyway, even with your broken ankle, and you do something else, whether it's arm stuff or whether it's like gentle non-impact stuff. It doesn't matter. As long as you keep going, you're keeping the routine in place. So that part won't have to be an issue. Once your ankle's better, you are going to have to rehab your ankle, but at least you won't have to rehab your routine. It'll already be there. So Coffee Talk message today is about changing habits. It's about creating routines and protecting them. So let me know if this is helpful for you. I am curious if this one hit home for you. Let me know. Shoot me a DM on Instagram or drop a comment in the Facebook group. I want to share my coffee before we wrap up. I'm drinking it out of my Girl Boss mug. A friend of mine gave me this 2 Christmases ago, and I love it. And I am drinking Humboldt Bay coffee, which I just talked to Coach Leah from fitme and told her that I got to come visit. And my dear friend Sandy, who lives in Humboldt Bay. So I got to make a trip. And then I can see Julie, who's the one who sent me this coffee because it's so delicious. So thanks as always for plugging into Coffee Talk. If you haven't done so, subscribe to Coffee Talk on your favorite podcast app. Tell a friend if you think these are helpful episodes and good for you. And if you're not in our Facebook group, go to Facebook, search fitme free community. It is the one place you actually do want to be on Facebook. We show you in that group how to do diet-free, sustainable changes for your real life. We break it down. We make it simple. It's doable. And you can access free content in there to help you do this on your own. Or if you want help, we'll do it with you. So you learn about our programs, but at the end of the day, there's enough free stuff in there that you could start making these changes on your own if you want to. So come to that Facebook group. So guys, I will talk to you tomorrow. Have a wonderful, wonderful day. Take care. Bye.